Welcome to Guardian Response 19. I'm Army Sergeant Sal Ottaviano. Coming up, we'll report on some insightful news stories about the Guardian Response annual training at Muscatatuck Urban Training Center, conducted in April and May of 2019. It's a multi-component exercise which validates U.S. Army units' ability to provide defense support of civil authorities in the event of a chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear catastrophe. America's Army Reserve continues to build and sustain units of action that are manned, equipped, trained, and maintained at sufficiently high levels of readiness so they're able to meet Army contingency requirements. All in the effort to shape and grow the force of tomorrow as part of the ready force capable of responding to national and international crisis. The ultimate message: America's Army Reserve generates combat-ready units and soldiers for the Army and joint warfighter who are equipped, trained, lethal, and ready to support our nation. As troops begin taking part in Guardian Response 19, Brigadier General Joseph Lastorti, Commanding General of the 78th Training Division, ensures all personnel training at Muscatatuck receive the most intense, real-world training so they may be best prepared for national emergencies.
Guardian Response is a massive, multi-branch training exercise which falls under Joint Task Force Civil Support. The purpose of Guardian Response and the similar exercise Vibrant Response is to bring local, state, and federal organizations together as a team to respond to national crisis. Guardian Response is part of a national insurance policy which must be in place, but with the hopes of never needing to be used, however always being ready to respond at a moment's notice in the event of a national emergency.
When we're training our soldiers, we want to put them in the most stressful situations, in the worst case scenario, so that they train to that high level standard, they can handle a lower level response. So if they can operate in this environment, they can operate in any environment. It's all environmentals.
Guardian Response enables local, state, and federal emergency first responders to know and learn each other's roles and to be able to work effectively as a team. U.S. Army Reserve soldiers from across the nation actively engaged in Guardian Response while training at Muscatatuck Urban Training Center, Indiana, must quickly and effectively learn to adapt to a constantly changing environment and be a ready force to protect the people of the United States in a time of crisis.
In addition to being the 78th Division Commander, my role here in this exercise is to be the exercise director and ensure that we're providing the right stressors on the force here training and that they're getting the required number of reps to meet that intent so they're ready to go.
When the local government and the Federal Emergency Management Agency partner with the Army Reserve for disaster relief, they all rely on logistics, the detailed coordination of a complex operation involving many service members, first responders, equipment, and supplies. Army Reserve units, as part of Guardian Response 2019, work day and night to set up a command center. The training mission is to respond to the scenario of a nuclear attack on a major U.S. city by working with FEMA as well as local and federal authorities.
So we are responding with a select set of capabilities in order to alleviate human suffering, save lives. FEMA is the lead federal agency. It's a Department of Homeland Security. Is DHS. FEMA falls underneath them. And they're really the ones that are coordinating between the state government and the DoD response. And so missions will come up through the state that they can't execute because of resources or people, or just the suffering that's going on. And they'll ask through FEMA, through the Department of Defense, for support. And with our assets and our soldiers, we're able to provide that. Multiple components that go into this. We've been training for this for over a year now. This is our culminating event. And really, it's at a brigade headquarters. It is a communication amongst our staff and our communication to higher and lower, and ensuring that our trained soldiers, our technical support force, can execute their mission safely and save as many lives as possible.
Private Tavon Henry, a soldier from the 63rd CBRN Response Company, out of Fort Campbell, Kentucky, gives us details on the importance of training to prepare for the worst possible disasters.
All right, let's go. Hey, everyone start doing something. Trying to burn, get the burn down.
I'm Private Tavon Henry, 63rd CBRN Response Company, out of Fort Campbell, Kentucky. I'm the CBRN 74W. Right now, for the beginning process of MTV, go and get casualties from a contaminated site and run through a line to get them decontaminated. This is basic chemical 101, mitigating suffrage and saving lives. We always train up on it so that if God forbid that we have to, we all know what to do.
Soldiers involved in Guardian Response 19 received special training on moulage to disguise civilian role players with realistic injuries. PFC Kimberly Brewton has more.
Civilians line up for simulated disaster injuries created by reserve soldiers specially trained at the Muscatatuck Urban Training Center. These soldiers have spent time prepping both mannequins and civilians as subjects for an Army exercise. According to Captain Peter Asante, the objective is to give soldiers a realistic experience.
So I feel this kind of helps the Army with their overall readiness by helping them to train as they fight. As cliche as it sounds, as many times as it's been said before, I think prepping the mannequins and more so the active role players with wounds that might look like something similar to what soldiers would encounter in a real world environment really might help to take some of the shock factor out of it if they do actually come across a similar situation.
Reporting from Muscatatuck Urban Training Center, I'm Army PFC Kimberly Brewton.
Soldiers from the 209th Quartermaster Company, based in Lafayette, Indiana, also had an opportunity to play an important part in realistic training as role players and victims of the disaster during Guardian Response 19.
The soldiers has an important role at Muscatatuck's Urban Training Center. They are not conducting an exercise, but they are playing victims in a bus turnover training. They transform from soldiers into victims within minutes. As they prepare to take the roles in this exercise, their excitement builds up. PFC Jacob Tran says he never thought he would be supporting the Army in this manner and really appreciates how the exercise prepares soldiers for real-world situations.
Get them into that mindset, going back into what they trained for, into what they're actually doing for real, something were to happen.
This task not only made them embrace their mission, but to take a moment and reflect on their journey in the Army, like PFC Julian Jurgen.
It just puts you up, it puts you to a standard, and people just look at you different.
Reporting from Muscatatuck's Urban Training Center, I'm Private First Class Kimberly Brewton.
The Muscatatuck Urban Training Center is outfitted to resemble a disaster area. While en route to your next objective via gator or by foot traffic, take notice to the hazardous scattered throughout the grounds. While they are normally placed outside of regular training areas, they are not fixed to those locations. At times, you may come across some debris, so keep your eyes open at all times. Don't travel alone in low visibility situations, and always travel safe.
The 68th Engineer Construction Company did more than night operations. They donned their chemical suits and conducted training all hours of the day. Private First Class Dion Cook has the story.
Soldiers from the 68th Engineers Construction Company are preparing and conducting a search and rescue exercise involving a nuclear threat at Muscatatuck Urban Training Center. Their suits protect them from exposure to hazardous chemicals while working in the harmful environment. Soldiers make a great effort to secure the area and taking precaution while doing so. According to Staff Sergeant Carlos Addison from the 2nd of the 311th Infantry from Fort Bragg, he says the soldiers are putting all their training to the test.
Whether they have their actual lines of contamination where they will work in, work out, what questions they ask, how they set up, how they actually get the contaminated personnel, how they search in and search out, search around.
These soldiers work to execute their training while trying to maintain the public and safety. Reporting from Muscatatuck Urban Training Center, I'm Private First Class Dion Cook.
When disaster arrives, we also look to the air. Chief Warrant Officer 2, Zachary Jensen, a Black Hawk pilot, provides general aviation support for Guardian Response 19 in simulated scenarios. His flight missions to collect distressed civilians better prepares him for real emergencies.
Flying through the skies of Muscatatuck, Chief Warrant Officer 2, Zachary Jensen, from Alpha Company's 2nd Battalion, 227th Aviation out of Fort Hood, Texas, is a Black Hawk pilot who explains his unit's role as a General Support Aviation Battalion in the Guardian Response exercise.
The most challenging part would be the unknowns. For instance, we just received a maintenance inject, so there's a lot of unknowns associated with this type of exercise.
As part of training, Jensen receives medical and maintenance injections that give scenarios for maintenance failures and a plan to execute corrections by coordinating with operations to receive support.
It's important to kind of train something that we're not used to, and provides us some new challenges and new opportunities for us to learn and try some new things.
By participating in this exercise, the 227th are able to prepare by training as they fight. Reporting from Muscatatuck Urban Training Center, I'm Specialist Noel Williams.
Soldiers and airmen from across the country had a chance to put their medical evacuation techniques to the test during Guardian Response 19 at Muscatatuck Urban Training Center near North Vernon, Indiana. Over the course of the exercise, severe weather grounded several medevac training missions. However, once the storm passed, the service members demonstrated they can answer the call if disaster strikes. Reconnaissance and surveillance plays a key role in an emergency. First Lieutenant Bradley Shaver of the 172nd Chemical Company tells about his platoon's exercise.
Today, my platoon, which is the reconnaissance and surveillance platoon for the company, is conducting operations in the hot zone to extract casualties of a simulated disaster. I sincerely hope that my soldiers understand how important they are to America right now. If there's any kind of chemical or biological or radiological disaster, they're training to be the people that go in and help when no one else can. I hope that they understand how important that is for Americans, for the Army, that there are people who can go into these absolutely astronomically disastrous situations and actually bring them out and solve the problem. For the domestic response mission that we're currently training, it's extremely important that especially the U.S. Army, with all of the resources, is able to come and support local authorities. This mission enables Americans to help Americans when they need it.
Guardian Response is an exercise where multiple branches of the military can perfect their skills. The Army and Air Force teamed up inside the trauma tents. Tech Sergeant Kai McGraw sat down with us and provided her unique perspective.
Okay, let's go. Make sure 30 and...
I feel like we really came together on this exercise. Most of us don't work together on a day-to-day basis, and we haven't really had a chance to train together before coming here. And so everybody came with a great attitude, willing to learn, willing to help move different sections. We had lab and radiology helping us move patients around. Public health is coming out and running manpower. We did a couple of mass casualty exercises as well, and we just all really formed together really well as a unit, and we're willing to help each other out. Training is really important. If we ever were activated for national incident, then, and we didn't have this training, we wouldn't have like the unit cohesion that we need. Also, I've learned so much, and I know that other technicians have learned so much being on this training. Like, I came in not knowing how to run a trauma, and I just ran a trauma. I feel confident that with the training that I received here at Camp Atterbury, that I would be able to stabilize the patient to a point where we could get them to a higher level of care and potentially save their lives.
Army Staff Sergeant Amy Erickson from the 78th Training Division out of Joint Base McGuire-Dix Lakehurst, New Jersey, found her calling as a mortuary affairs soldier from a tragic event as a child.
I'm just very passionate about what I do. I lost my mom on active duty during Desert Shield, Desert Storm, and the way they treated myself and my family during the time that she was deceased is what became a very serious passion for me. Staff Sergeant Amy Erickson, I'm a 92 Mike Mortuary Affairs. Our official role is to assist the civilians in a disastered area like we have here. This type of training actually gives us the time to be able to know how civilians respond to us and to practice our jobs every day. As a reservist, we really don't get that many opportunities, and this is something we're trying to implement to get the reservists to have that hands-on training, especially for mortuary affairs. And so I've been brought out from the 78th Training Division to implement more training in the future for mortuary affairs reservists.
Soldiers from the 68th Engineer Construction Company use a variety of skills when they team up on an urban search and rescue mission. Team leader Sergeant Cody Schultz provides us with a look inside.
This is my first time in Muscatatuck. It's really good. The training aids around here are by the best that I've seen. It provides a lot more realistic training for us and the soldiers that we also work with. My name is Sergeant Cody Schultz, Fort Hood, Texas, 68 Engineer Construction Company. My MOS is a 12 Romeo, interior electrician. Today we're out here doing conduct urban search and rescue. We have multiple different disciplines that we are trained on, and as you see behind me, we have a collapsed structure that was 4 stories tall, and it's reduced to a pile of rubble. I have a size up team or recon team where I go in, find the radiation line, where does the radiation start, and then I go in and locate all the victims, and I take pictures here with the tablet just to kind of paint the picture for the LT and Sergeant First Class to kind of run the operation. And then I have 2 personnel on there that run the monitoring equipment and mark victims' locations. I expect my younger soldiers to get out of this training is to be able to forward think and forward plan, to be able to trust their battle buddies to the left and right, and to make important calls that one day like I may not be around for them to make.
A contamination emergency can be a scary situation to resolve. That's why Captain Jordan Clayton and the 413th Chemical Company from Florence, South Carolina are here at Butlerville, Indiana, testing their skills in this stressful and dangerous scenario.
So today we have 3 task forces we were asked by the incident commander. We're responding to several casualties with different types of injuries, and we're here to provide casualty decon support as well as CBRN reconnaissance, treatment, triage. So there is a lot of processes in place. This is our 3rd time operating with this group specifically. We received our mission officially 07 this morning, and from there we respond, and we have to be on land and operational within 2.5 hours from that site operation. So there's numerous pieces that go into play.
Helton for your last name?
I think it provides a real aspect of like realism, like this could truly be your family walking through the line. And it provides motivation. A lot of our soldiers are brand new to the Army, the unit, they're very young. So they see, they watch the news, see these issues that go on, and see how easy it could be. So I think it applies a certain level of importance to the soldiers as well. I'll be running off now.
Army training is rigorous and takes place in a multitude of environments. Because of the outside stimulus in combination with all the repetitious exercise, it is quite easy for stress to begin to affect a soldier's performance. A great way to relieve that stress is through proper PT. Science proves that a good session of physical training can result in the body releasing endorphins, which will help blow off that stress and lead to a better readiness.
And now for some sports from the area around Muscatatuck. The finish at the 145th Kentucky Derby was unlike anyone has ever seen in the history of the Derby. Post-time favorite Maximum Security pulled away down the stretch to take first place in the Derby this month at Churchill Downs. But the finishing order was dramatically overturned following a lengthy post-race replay, review, and investigation into a controversial mid-race move by the winning horse. In the final turn, Maximum Security, leading the pack near the rail, made a slight movement toward the outside and changed lanes, causing War of Will to check up to avoid a collision. An objection was called to the result, and after the race, stewards reviewed the video. Maximum Security was disqualified from the race, handing the victory to the 62-1 long shot, Country House. Maximum Security's disqualification marked the first time in history the win was stripped due to an in-race foul. Well, anticipation is growing quickly for what some may call the greatest spectacle in racing, the Indianapolis 500. It'll be the 103rd running of the race at the Brickyard at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Sunday, May 26th. 33 spots are set for the greatest drivers in racing to be at the starting line to compete for racing immortality. Contenders like Scott Dixon, Simon Pagenaud, and Marco Andretti will be there. Fans can still walk in off the street to get the cheapest general admission ticket for only $10.
While exploring near the Muscatatuck Urban Training Center, you may find yourself in North Vernon, Indiana. While in town, you are representing the United States military, so be kind and be courteous. The locals love the military, and we should hold ourselves to the standard and show the American people that we are here for them.
Navy mascot Billy the Goat also dipped his hooves in some training. He, along with his handler, Rodney Morris, got a chance to see the inside of a decontamination line. Specialist Noel Williams has the story.
I brought my goat in, I just want to get him checked out. I mean, kind of limping on the right front foot, but more than anything, I just want to get him cleaned up.
During the Guardian Response exercise, Major Lisa Jen, a veteran technician with the 546 Medical Company out of Melbourne, Florida, encountered a unique patient. As any patient would, the goat is handled with care through the decontamination line. The 546 Medical Company assists in the Guardian Response exercise as all medical support.
It's very important for many people. Animals, their personal pets or their service animals are a very integral part of their life, not only for support and for love and considered part of the family. And so when we're treating patients, we're supposed to treat the entire patient, the heart, the head, the body, and for a lot of people, their animals are their heart. And so by treating them, they feel that they are getting good care and they're getting the services that they deserve by being out here.
Yeah, he's part of the family. I just want him to be healthy as well as everybody else.
Billy had several barnyard companions join him on the training site. Those farm animals assisted Major Lauren Seal with the 438th Medical Detachment Veterinary Services.
And he went across the way. We'll check him out. Here we go.
Major Seal Lauren, the 438th Medical Detachment Veterinary Service Support, Fort Carson, Colorado. Our unit's mission here is to provide veterinary support as requested by the NGOs and the units already on the ground. I think the importance of animal health is really twofold. So we need to help make sure that these individuals have both a healthy food supply and a healthy livestock production. This gentleman uses these for production. And then also protecting public health. So these animals could get things that could be zoonotic, meaning transferred to people. So anything we can do to protect those two things. We're gonna hot wash every portion of this. So we're gonna go back and really talk about it. I think the biggest things from this are managing expectations. We talk a lot about that, so making sure to ask the expectations of the person whose facility we're entering, making sure we meet those expectations, and then communicating that back to our chain of command, and making sure they know what was asked of us so that we can be better prepared next time.
Well, that rounds out our reporting of Guardian Response 19 and our telling of the Army Reserve story through the lens of our public affairs soldiers. For the 356th Broadcast Operations Detachment, I'm Army Sergeant Salo Taviano.